What is going on, everybody? Matt Kenyon here with my very first analysis video. I'm going to get right to it. Right now, we're analyzing the Super Mario World Overworld theme. Why are we doing this? Why am I making this video? Couple reasons. One, because it's super interesting to study the works of other composers, and it enriches our lives and blows our minds. Secondly, a lot of what we analyze, we can assimilate into our own composition vocabulary so that we can be better composers because, let's be honest, we're all just a mishmash of our inspirations. So when we analyze other music and figure out why it works and why it sounds good, we can then take those techniques and we can implement them into our own compositions. So that's what I'm going to do. So here's what I'm going to do here. We're going to analyze this song together. I'm going to talk to you about the form, what key it's in, motifs, cool chord progressions, and other interesting moments throughout the song. And then I'm going to talk about some takeaways that you can use and that I can use in our compositions to be better composers. Some of the things are going to be how you can instantly make a composition more jazzy by adding a tritone substitution. So we're going to talk about Koji Kondo's love of tritone substitutions, what those are, how to make them, and how to implement them in your own compositions. We're going to talk about going from a major 1 chord to a minor 1 chord. What? Is that even allowed? Yes, and he does it, and it's cool. The third thing we're going to talk about are creative ways to get to the 5 chord, the dominant chord. It's a very important chord. The 5 chord almost always leads back to the 1 chord. But it doesn't need to be linear or boring in how you get there. There are some really cool and creative ways that Koji Kondo gets to the 5 chord, which then goes back to the 1 chord. And I want to share a few of those progressions for you to try and issue some challenges for you guys to do to take your compositions to the next level. So I hope this is super helpful. You can go to the link on the screen or in the description to download my transcription of this piece free of charge. You can also download the worksheet and the challenges, the takeaways that I talk about here, so that you can kind of have them on your desk or on your computer screen next time you're writing music, and hopefully implement some of those. So without further ado, let's get to it. Okay, so here I have the Super Mario World Overworld theme in MuseScore. MuseScore is an open source notation software. I unfortunately don't have the money for something like Finale or Sibelius, and based on my research, this is honestly a pretty formidable alternative. It's totally free and open source, and it was easy for me to use. I haven't used Sibelius or Finale, so I know there's probably people out there that love them, and I think they're awesome. But if you don't have money, you don't have money for musical notation software like me, this is an excellent alternative. Okay, so let's talk about this song. So the genre of this song is definitely a mix of bluegrass, some gypsy jazz, and maybe a little bit of country, but predominant ragtime. Okay, so Koji Kondo, the composer of this song, was, and almost every Nintendo song from your childhood, it was hugely inspired by ragtime. That was a genre that he loved, and specifically Scott Joplin. Everyone knows who he is. He did The Entertainer. That style of music that you find in like an old saloon, all over the Mario series, heavily influenced Koji Kondo. And we see that here. So you'll recognize some of those, and I'll point some of those trademark aspects out as we take a look. The form of this song is simply, there's an intro, there's an A section, a B section, and a C section, and they just repeat over and over. As a matter of fact, let's go ahead and listen to it, and I will point out when it hits each section. So here we go. Here's the A section. B section. My favorite part. C section. All right, so that's the song, and then it just repeats. The key of this song is in F major. If you read music, you can tell here by the one flat. So let's just talk about some of the key motifs of the song. The signature motif is this motion right here. Da 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 da. Da, 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 da. So that motif is actually in just about every level of the Super Mario World game. It goes through motivic transformation, some people call it, where that melody goes minor. So then in the ghost house and the fortress theme, it's ba 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 ba, and in the bonus theme, ba da 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 da. Anyway, so that motif is all over the Super Mario World game, and this is its most pure presentation. This is it. When you are popping in the cartridge, it's a fresh presentation of it. So the structure of the A section here is there's sort of a call and response thing going. So in classical music, this might be called the antecedent and the consequent, which is kind of like this. The antecedent is this first phrase, and that kind of leaves things ambiguous and unresolved, and the consequent kind of answers that phrase and resolves things. So let's take a look. So the first call before the first response is this. So it's dun 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 dun. Dun 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 dun. So it kind of leaves it unresolved there, and then there's your response. So if you'll notice, this is the exact same as this. So we have our call, we're calling, and then we're responding. But we're ending it kind of, we're still kind of tense there. And then the exact same note sequence, same rhythm, everything. And then finally the answer that resolves it down to the root chord. And we get that nice release. So I love that call and response feel. It's a lot of fun. Another thing that is I want to talk about the B section, and then we're going to dive deep and we'll go through the chords together. One of the things that I really love about the B section is that it, many things, but it goes to the 4 chord, which is very reminiscent of jazz. That's a big staple in jazz, and really pop music in general is usually have your progression. In this case, it's the 1. I got my keys here. It's the 1 to the minor 6 to the minor 3 to the 5. Now that's a very common progression. I'm going to talk more about that when we get into the chords, but you have that progression, it's moving along, and then you kind of change gears by going to the 4 chord. The walking bass line, by far my favorite part of this song, starts off with the quarter notes. Dun, 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 and then it just walks all over the place. It's so much fun. It's dun 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 dun. So that to me is kind of has that jazz bebop. It can't stand still. It's very much driving the tonal color of the song. That's very. I don't know if you might consider that more jazz or bluegrass, but you see that sort of movement in both genres. And in this section, the B section, the bass just goes crazy. You got your 8th notes. It's just All right, so let's talk about the chords, okay? The chords, the chord progression here is we're starting out with a really powerful, strong 4 to dominant chord, which Koji loves to do. He loves to have these really strong intros that go to the dominant chord and then resolve back to the 1 on the first bar. So I believe it's that's our first little intro there. And then we go right into the boom, there we go. So that's a very common progression. The 1 minor 6, minor 2, 5. It's all over the place, and it's even in the game. Again. That's the map select theme. So Koji obviously really likes it. It's a staple in jazz music, and it's a great way to start the game. Now you'll see this chord here is kind of interesting. This is a flat 2, a flat major 2, 7. So it's going to be an F sharp dominant chord, and that's really weird. Sorry for that weird capitalized B there. I'm still figuring out how to use MuseScore. Apologize. So that's a tritone substitution. We'll talk about tritone substitution soon. So then when the actual song kicks in, the bass really drives this rising and falling motion, which I absolutely love. So check this out. It's going 1, 1 slash minor 3, or it's a minor third in the bass, 4, and then you have this sharp 4 diminished, right? So it's rising, but it's not quite rising to the 5, and I absolutely love it. Listen as you can feel the energy rise, and it's coming from the bass. I love that. It's like boom, dun, dun, dun. It's going even higher there. So really cool. And then you have the falling motion here. Listen. So it's like going dun 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 dun. And I love that. Bass is probably my favorite part of this song. Then we do it again. We rise. So we have that really nice, that tasty sharp 4 diminished chord, which is very jazzy. And then we go to the dominant chord, and we have our nice, clean scalar rundown and resolution. It's so satisfying. Ba ba da ba. Just very, very satisfying, very resolved. Then we do it all over again, and that's our A section. So really cool. Again, you can download the sheet music. I have all the chords here. You can play along. This is not really arranged for piano, but if you just play the bass notes and the melody, I think you can get away with a pretty cool arrangement. So here we go back. Sorry, just to clarify, I really transcribe for analysis. I don't really transcribe for piano arrangement. I could, but I prefer to have all the channels, all the notes in there, just because it helps me analyze chords better. So back to the notation. Okay, so the B section is pretty notable, not because it goes to the 4, but because it does this little number here. Okay, so the melody is actually an F triad in second inversion. So we're putting the C on the bass there. So it's, but then something really interesting happens. Koji goes to the minor third. Sorry about that. So that's it's common to do mode mixture, and mode mixture is when you borrow chords from the minor scale and pull them into the major scale and kind of modulate for a second and then go back to the major scale. That's common. What's not common, at least in my experience, is to see someone go from the 1 major to the 1 minor, because the 1 is the most stable chord. It's the most stable chord of the whole song. It feels like home. So when you go, when you go minor on that chord, it's a pretty radical shift, and Koji pulls it off really, really well. So just want to give him kudos for that, and just wanted to point that out because I thought it was really interesting. And then one of the coolest parts of the whole song is the chromatic descending bass line. It goes from the 1 to the, oh, that's supposed to be a 1 right there. You can tell this is my very first transcription video. All right, that's supposed to be a 1. Okay, so we got our 1, and it goes 1 with a flat 7 in the bass, 1 with a 6 in the bass, 1 with a flat 6 in the bass to the 5. Guarantee you've heard it. I'm going to play it. So it's this, it's often used to end country songs or bluegrass songs, but what he does here is he uses it to get to the 5 and then get back to the 1. So here it is, slowed down. The right hand is not moving at all, staying right on that F triad while the bass goes down, and it's just a great combination. Love that. So that's really cool. And then, of course, we got our C section, which is just going nuts. This middle line here, this middle voice, hitting 16th notes, and it's just insanely fast and a lot of fun. Let's listen to this one more time. Now, I'm remiss to even put chords here because there's so much chromaticism. It's tough to really nail down chords, and I don't know that I would want anyone to play these chords just like block chords over this, because Koji Kondo uses a ton of chromaticism. Like right here, for example, check this out. So chromaticism is when you're borrowing, when you're moving linearly across the sort of musical landscape without respect to a scale. So that's a kind of a complicated way of putting it, but it's essentially using notes that aren't in the scale but are direct neighbors of whatever note you're on. So for example, if I wanted to go from the F to the A, I could go F to A, or I could go like that, or any combination of that sort of thing. That's chromaticism. You're essentially playing notes that aren't supposed to be in the scale as stepping stones. A lot of bluegrass composers do this. Koji Kondo loved to do this. It gives an air of it gives off an air of silliness, of sort of happiness and lightheartedness, very present in the Mario series. 8-Bit Music Theory, who's a YouTuber I really admire, he put a video out recently on why on how chromaticism makes the Super Mario music sound fun, and it really does do that in a big way. And he loves chromatically harmonizing thirds, which you can see all these here. These are all thirds. They're all a third away from each other, and to sort of drive home to emphasize the chromaticism, Koji Kondo will often use thirds like right here. Listen. That is him using sixth in this case, but basically thirds to emphasize the chromaticism, and that's a big trademark of his as well. Okay, so what are some takeaways? What are some things that we can do to extract some of Koji Kondo's genius here in our own compositions? One is I want to talk about using tritone substitution. So what are tritone substitutions? I'll take each of those words and explain it. A tritone is any tone that is 3 whole steps, which is where it gets its name, tri, away from a particular note. So tritones are usually, they were labeled dissonance in history, like Diabolus in Musica. Like the church didn't like it because it sounded crazy. They said it was the devil in music, but tritones are everywhere. When you do a tritone substitution, what you do is you take the 5 chord and you say, well, you know, I could end on 5 chord, but I want to be cool. I want to be jazzy. So I am going to count 1 tritone away from the 5 chord. You with me? So the 5 chord is C7. So let's count 1 tritone away from C. That's going to be 1 step, 2 step, whole step. That's an F sharp, okay? So the idea is that you build a dominant chord on F sharp, and then you resolve down to the F. The reason this works is because of all the tones that naturally want to resolve. There's lots of voice leading going on, okay? So the F sharp wants to resolve to the F, the B flat wants to resolve to the A, and the C sharp wants to resolve to the C. So it's... Okay, so I can go in deeper, but just know when you build a chord off of the flat 2, okay? Flat 2, just 1/2 step boink above your root. That's a tritone substitution. So instead of a 5 chord, try to build a tritone substitution next time. See what happens. That might be cool. Oh, and one more word on the tritone substitution. If we go back to that theme I was playing, you can, when he ends it, he does it again. He loves this thing. There's our tritone. It could go, but that's too boring for Koji Kondo. He goes, boom. That's just the right amount of tasty dissonance, right? Next thing, creative ways to get to the 5 chord. So he's got a lot of creative ways to get to the 5 chord. My favorite, like I mentioned, is this one here. Again, that's, you're on the 1 chord, then you go down a whole step, then you go down a 1/2 step, then another 1/2 step, and then you go to the, land on the 5 chord there. Okay, let's try it in the key of C. So you're in the key of C, whole step, 1/2 step, 1/2 step. We're on the 5 chord, and then we go, oop, tritone. Sorry, that was a lame tritone. Sorry. There you go. That's better. So another cool way to get to the 5 chord is in this section right here. So this is cool. I really love what he does here. Minor third, major flat third, 2 sus4 to the 5. Okay, so we have our minor third, we have our flat major third, 2 sus4 to the 5 chord. All right, let's try it again. So minor third, that's pretty fun. I like that a lot. You can add some 7ths to make it jazzy. I'd have to work out the voice leading in that, but that's a lot of fun. So try that out. Minor third, flat major third, 2 sus4, or minor 2 sus4 to the 5/7. That's a cool one too. So that's it, guys. Tons of fun. The transcription is available for download, and the worksheet with all these takeaways is also available for download. If you enjoyed this, I would love for you to like and subscribe to this, my channel, and I will create more of these videos if they are helpful. Comment what song you think I should do next, because I really love transcribing, analyzing, and sharing my knowledge with you. So thanks for watching. If you made it this far, I appreciate it. Best of luck to you, and hope to talk to you soon.